Hi everyone. This video deals with one of the basic elements, one of the 6 basic elements, this one being instrumentation. This particular video deals specifically with the instruments of the orchestra. Now, when we talk about instrumentation, we include voice as an instrument. Standard vocal registers are divided into 4 different ones. Soprano and alto being the higher and lower registers of the female voice, tenor and bass being the higher and lower registers of the male voice. So when you hear a choir, you hear people singing, large numbers of people singing in each of these 4 vocal registers. Remember that when we talk about register, we're talking about how high or how low pitches are. There are 4 families of instruments in the orchestra: strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. Here are the basic members of each of those families, and they are listed by register, from the highest sounding instruments to the lowest in each of the 4 families. A few terms going along with this basic element. Ensemble is just any group of players. Ensemble is the French word for together. An orchestra is what you'll be watching in this video. A large ensemble, all 4 families of instruments. A large ensemble without the strings is what we call a band or a wind ensemble. I'm sure you're all familiar with that one. You'll see more about a jazz ensemble when we get to chapter 5 of the text. You'll see a video and hear great music played by large jazz ensembles which have been around since the late 1930s. Timbre is a very good word to use when thinking about what instruments sound like. Timbre is just the tone color or the tone quality of any given instrument or a voice. You could say that an instrument has a bright timbre or a dark timbre. Usually the timbre of instruments brightens, becomes more shrill or intense when they go into their upper register. That's an example of how to use that term when you're describing music. You will also see a conductor. Since this group is so large, there is someone, we need someone to keep the group together, indicate how fast or how slow the music is going, and indicate the meter or the pattern of stresses in the music, which you'll deal with when you think about rhythm. The conductor does that with his or her right hand. This piece begins in what's called 3/4 time. You'll see the conductor go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Over here we go 1, 2, 3. And how fast or how slowly he does it shows all of the players how fast or how slow they will play. The tempo changes in this piece quite a bit. Going forward, the piece you're going to listen to is called A Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. Here is the composer and his dates, the year in which it was composed. This is a very popular orchestra piece. Orchestras play this. Large orchestras, professional orchestras play this probably every other year, and they have concerts where they invite young children to come and introduce them to the instruments of the orchestra, which this piece does very, very well. The ensemble playing this is the Cologne Symphony Orchestra, a very excellent professional orchestra from a large city in Germany. Here is the link to the video. This is fairly self-explanatory. I'm not going to read it off to you. I'll leave that to you. As you listen, you will hear an opening theme played at the very beginning. And this particular theme is music that was composed by another British composer, Henry Purcell, 3 centuries or so before this piece was done. Then each of the 4 families will take turns playing a version of the theme. After that happens, each section, beginning with the flutes, and then the oboes, clarinets, through all the woodwinds, and then the various other families, will play a variation on this theme. And the variations are composed to show off the playing characteristics of each of the instruments. At the very end of the piece, a new theme appears, and we go through the instruments again in the same order, but much more quickly. This type of music is called a fugue. And the Bach-Richter is an example of the same type of writing, where instruments enter one after another, or voices, in the case of the Bach piece, enter one after another, playing the same theme. So the texture thickens and thickens and thickens, and finally Britten goes back and adds the original melody to all of this other action that's going on in the fugue. The texture becomes quite thick and involved, and it's a really fantastic, powerful ending to this piece of music. So you can refer to these times to find these places when you go back and listen again as you prepare remarks that you may want to make about this piece of music. Remember that going forward, you have the option of writing a report about any of these evening presentations. Here, remember the guidelines for writing reports in the course documents folder. If you haven't read that, make sure that you do. It will make your work much more effective. You want to make, if you write a report, save it as a PDF, email it to me. Here's exactly what I'd like you to write about. Please be sure to talk about all 6 of the basic elements when you do that. All right? Enjoy this music. It's a really great piece, and thanks very much.